ए बिछोड़ा सहया ना जा, ए बिछोड़ा सहया ना जा। ए बिछोड़ा सहया ना जा, ए बिछोड़ा सहया ना जा। सतगुर मिले ता मिले सो भाई, सतगुर मिले ता मिले सो भाई। ए बिछोड़ा सहया ना जा, ए बिछोड़ा सहया ना जा।
नमस्कार, सत श्री अकाल। बिशन सिंह बेदी अब हमारे बीच नहीं है। वो एक अच्छे क्रिकेटर तो थे ही, एक अच्छे पिता, एक अच्छे पति और दोस्तों के दोस्त थे। उन्हें खाने पीने का बहुत शौक़ था, और भी कई शौक़ थे, लेकिन ख़ास तौर पे खाने पीने का उन्हें बहुत शौक़ था और ख़ुद खाना बनाते भी थे। कई कहानियाँ, कई किस्से उनके प्रचलित हैं। मुझे एक किस्सा याद आ रहा है कि जहाँ वो अभी रहा करते थे, जब उन्होंने वो ज़मीन ख़रीदी तो उस समय उन्होंने मुझसे कहा कि मैंने ये ज़मीन ख़रीदी है और मैं इसको खाली नहीं रखना चाहता, साल 6 महीने बाद ही मैं यहाँ कंस्ट्रक्शन करूँगा। तो यार मुझे कुछ बताओ कि यहाँ क्या किया जा सकता है। तो मैं उस समय इंडियन एग्रीकल्चरल रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट में साइंटिस्ट था। तो मैंने इन्हें एक सुझाव दिया। मैंने कहा कि हमारा इंस्टीट्यूट आपकी ज़मीन पर मक्का की बुआई कर देगा, मक्का लगा देगा और उसमें आपकी 4-6 महीने में वो मक्का जब उगेगी, कटाई होगी, तो उस मक्का का इस्तेमाल आप कर सकते हैं, खाएं, अपने दोस्तों को दें, बेचें, जो मर्ज़ी करें। हमें उसमें से सिर्फ डेटा चाहिए होगा, हम डेटा ले लेंगे। तो उनको ये मेरा आइडिया बहुत अच्छा लगा। तो फिर एक दिन हम टीम लेके वहाँ पहुँच गए उनकी ज़मीन पर और हमने वहाँ मक्का की बुआई करी। सुबह गए थे। मक्का की बुआई करने के बाद कुछ 11-12 बजे, 1 बजे करीब हम खाली हुए। तो हमसे कहने लगे आओ हम अब लंच करते हैं। तो हमने कहा कहाँ लंच करेंगे? कहने लगे मेरी वैन में। तो हम उनकी वैन में गए तो उन्होंने हमें जो वहाँ खाना खिलाया, इतना लजीज खाना था कि आज तक हम उसे भूलते नहीं। और उससे बड़ी बात क्या है कि वो खाना बनाने के लिए वो रात को 2-3 बजे उठे थे और सुबह खाना बना के पैक करके अपने साथ लाए और ये सब जो बुआई करने के बाद उन्होंने हमें लंच करवाया। बिशन सिंह बेदी को हम भूल नहीं पाएंगे।
I realized this only the day he breathed his last on the 23rd. In fact, it was so liberating for all of us. He was free from all his pain. He was in different hospitals and he hated being dependent on anyone to look after him. He hated the fact that the nurses and mom had to look after him the most. I was in fact so relieved for my mom. Mom, can you please come? She endured as much, if not more, being the primary caregiver. His life, in fact, extended under her care. She put in her all in looking after him. It aged her, it exhausted her, but she never gave up her wish. I remember saying, thank God. I looked up and I said, thank God, when Dad did this last. I was in the room with him. Because I actually couldn't just bear to look at him in that condition. My mom would make videos and send them to us when she was in the hospital. And every time I would see those videos, I would break down because that's not the memory of my father I wanted to have. I remember one such FaceTime call that she did from the hospital. Dad looked at me and said, "Jindri, tera ki haal hai?" He used to call Sohabi and me Jindri interchangeably. And I just turned my face away from the camera, and he knew I had broken down. And he looked at me and he said, "Roda nahi hai, bilkul bhi roda nahi hai." And every time I would break down, he said, "Puttar, hale tera pyo jinda hai. Hale jinda hai tera pyo. Tu roni kyun hai?" He was always into spirituality, and if I could make Angan and me recite the part every morning on our way to school, I was in CJM and Angan was in Columbus. And from the farm to school, we would cross, one of the places that we would cross was the Lodi crematorium. And then the other various gurdwaras would come. The first matha that he used to make me teko was at the crematorium first. And then proceed to cross the various gurdwaras and take matha there as well from the outside. Once I asked him, "Why do you take matha outside the crematorium first? Why do you make us do it as well?" And he said, "Beta ji, aana te sarya ne ekhe hi hai." And then say, "Jo upjo so bin se hai," meaning whatever is created will be destroyed. We were very young at that time, but that stayed in my mind. I remember Dad taking Angan and me for these really painful and excruciating runs in Panchi early in the morning. And those runs were even more painful, in fact, when he had a fight with Mom the previous night. I used to hate that form of physical fitness, not knowing that it now shapes the very core of our beings, both my brothers and mine. He was a very tough dad with both of us. But he had a massive soft spot for me. Any new phone, any gadget that would come in the market, and I would say, "Dad, I want this." And he would call up SB Baji and say, "Neha, tu ek cheez chahiye, jara la ke deo." We share a passion for cars, and my knowledge of cars and machinery came from him, although he didn't let us both drive till we were 18. He never gave us his car to drive also, in fact, and he said, "Beta ji, apne paise naal gadi lavo, phir chalao." In fact, once he found out that we had borrowed a friend's car and he made sure that we topped up the fuel and gave it back. He taught me the meaning of compassion and unconditional love and having a clear conscience. To always give more than you take and the importance of integrity. He believed in junoon. Whatever you do it well, do it with passion, and follow it up with sukoon. Have peace while doing it. I never saw him looking back in the past, especially when people hurt him. The unconditional love didn't change him and he continued to love freely. Dad was a magnanimous host, and our house used to always have people coming and going. Always want to enjoy a well-stocked bar, and in fact a table full of food at home. People who knew him closely knew that he was a fantastic cook and enjoyed feeding whoever came home with an open heart. He used to call me when he used to make, we used to have a tradition of making roasts at home. And every time he would make something, and normally I stay in GK, and he would call me on a Friday or a Saturday, and he said, "Nina, main na ek badi changi cheez banai hai. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous." I mean, it was such a spiritual experience for him just cooking that for me, and the only person he would call was me, like, "Come and have it, come and taste it." I would go to the farm, I would sit on the table, and Dad would serve me my dinner. And he would ask, he was like, "Kyun kya bana hai? How is it? How is it?" And he wanted to see that expression on my face that I'm actually relishing the food that he's made. One thing about Dad was that underneath that tough and rock-like exterior, he was extremely emotional. The day I got married, he was just so upset that his favorite child isn't going to be there with him anymore. That on the day of the Bidai, I got married here, he just left abruptly and just took off. He didn't even wait for my Bidai. But I understood his pain, and he was not one to show emotions in public at all. He just started his car and he just went home. He was very headstrong, very stubborn, and mentally very tough. That was Bish. He didn't call me Neha or my daughter Suhabi or call Angad by his name ever. He would just say Ninna to me, and Suhabi was his jittery. Dad never said, I love you, ever, to both Angad and me. And when we were growing up, so we didn't get to hear it as much as we would have loved and looked for his approval. Very recently, I was giving him his dinner at Gangaram Hospital when he was in the CCU, and he kept touching my face and saying, I love you, repeatedly to me. I think he knew that I wanted to hear it all these years, and he kept kissing my hand and repeatedly saying, I love you. Of late, for the last few years, his trips to hospitals increased, and every time I think he thought he was going to go. So on one such trip, when he was admitted to the hospital for his ankle surgery, he called, Angad and me were alone in the room with him, and he called us both, and he said, I don't get both of you alone. And he said, Dekho beta ji, mere father sahab ne kuch nahi chhadiya mere se, and I'm the same. And I just want both of you to always stay together. Only my dad, my brother, and myself were in that room at that time. He used to say, "Piche mud ke nahi dekhna. Meri umar nikal gayi hai beta ji. You have age on your side. You have to live life. कल ते बीत गई है, वर्तमान विच रहो ते आउण वाला समां किसनूं पता है." And on that note, I want us to celebrate his death today as much as his life, because he would have wanted us to. He would also say, Putter ji, I should drink banao te cheers karo. Thank you so much. I would like to call upon Sharmila ji, please, to come and say a few words.
You talked about Junoon and Sukoon, and that definitely was Bishan. As all of you know, Tiger and Bishan were more than friends. There was somewhere the souls were connected. They felt the same thing for cricket and the future of cricket. And when he passed, when Tiger was in hospital, somehow he got to know. He was in Kashmir then, and he messaged me, and I told him that he's in the hospital, he's stable, but not happy with what I told him. He sent his jasus, Amrit Mathur. So he came personally to the hospital to check that Rinku is not to be trusted. And after that, every day, he was messaging my daughter, Sabah, or calling her, until the last day, he kept in touch. But I don't think he could come. So when we had a memorial, Bishan spoke, and as you said, he said, this is not the time to mourn, we must celebrate. And he made everyone laugh, including me, saying such stupid, silly jokes about Tiger, and all of us absolutely loved it and laughed. And I had no idea that a few years later that Anju would request me to talk, and I would be able to talk about Bishan. He was younger than me, and we didn't expect this to happen. Nobody older wants their younger person to go before they go. There's so many stories about Bishan, I don't really know where to start. But 3 years ago, when he became ill, seriously ill, when his messages stopped coming, because it was always end with Allah Rehem Kare, and I would get those messages every time, and that stopped. And he, with that such a strong voice for cricket, was silenced. So many things were happening at that time, but nobody was speaking. His voice was fearless, it was always firm. The other day I was watching a old, I think I messaged Angad. I was watching Angad and Bishan with Rajdeep, and when he was talking about his beliefs, and he said that when he was 13 and he was going for a school cricket, also BCCI, he was going somewhere by train, and he was sitting alone in a room and sitting on a trunk, awaiting where to go, what time the train was, and a big official walked in. He recognized him and named him also. Bishan wouldn't stop at anything, he would name everybody. He walked in, and Bishan, 13-year-old, got up and did a very respectful namaste. And this gentleman, perhaps he wasn't a gentleman, looked at him and just brushed him off. And he says that at that age, at the age of 13, he did a vow never to wish this man again, ever in his life. And as a Delhi cricketer, he must have come across him many times, but he stuck to. So the courage of that man against all odds, and you can see with the silence is palpable. Who speaks like that? Who even dares to even mention what happened recently? He didn't hide his or subdue his Pakistan connections. He said how the first time it was terrible, the partisanship, and not, the negativity there and the way they treated them was so terrible. But ever since he donated blood, because he was a blood donor, the Pakistan was at his feet, and he made such wonderful, wonderful friends. And as in Indian Express, somebody wrote and ended with that Kishore Kumar song, the first Yaar Ho To Aisa Ho, or something like that. I can't remember all these. But his legacy will always be remembered, not just on the field, but off the field, what he did for the cricketers and for everyone. And he was so vocal about Tiger. I feel this subtle snap, Anju, after he's gone. Wherever, I've seen so many of his interviews, everywhere Tiger featured. And he said so many wonderful things. And, I don't know who will remember him that much and speak about him that much. And so I want to leave you with, as Neha said, and what I couldn't do, I couldn't make you laugh as Bishan made us laugh. But taking from Neha, I just want to just read this to you, which is, I think, beautiful and helped me. Death is nothing at all. I have only slipped away into the next room. I am I, and you are you. Whatever we were to each other, that we still are. Call me by my old familiar name. Speak to me in the easy way which you always used. Wear no air of solemnity or sorrow. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name ever be the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without effort, without a trace of shadow on it. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same as it ever was. There is absolutely unbroken continuity. Why should I be out of mind because I'm out of sight? I'm but waiting for you for an interval, somewhere very near, just around the corner, and all is well. And after speaking about Tagore, he looked directly at said in Sabha and Soha, he said, now you have to look after your mother, and now you are in charge, and you have to look after the family, and that I'm telling all of you now. Thank you so much for giving me the honor and sharing what I felt about Bishan. He's irreplaceable, but we must abide by what he said, and we should try and follow his example and keep remembering him. Thank you.
Thank you very much. बड़ा मुश्किल है यहाँ खड़ा होकर बात करना, क्योंकि I have to take deep breath to talk about it. जितने भी यहाँ पे खिलाड़ी बैठे हुए हैं, यहाँ उनके मित्र या दोस्त, कहीं ना कहीं बिशन सिंह बेदी जी का इम्पैक्ट जरूर रहा है। मेरे ऊपर तो उनका काफी ज्यादा रहा है, इसलिए कि उन्होंने मुझे अमृतसर से लेकर दिल्ली आए खिलाने के लिए। तो वो जर्नी भी मुझे मालूम है, जब हम दोनों जने अमृतसर से दिल्ली आए थे, उनकी कार में ही मैं बैठ कर आया था। और आज जहां पे मैं खड़ा हूं, वो आदि की वजह से खड़ा हूं, क्योंकि उन्होंने मुझे बहुत कुछ सिखाया। और जितने भी हमारे क्रिकेटर हैं यहाँ पे बैठे हुए हैं, उनको और मेरे को उन्होंने ये सिखा दिया था कि जिंदगी में जीता कैसे जाता है। ये जो कल्चर उन्होंने पैदा किया था दिल्ली क्रिकेट में, मैं समझता हूँ कि ये उनकी देन है। और आप सबको मालूम है, मैं उनके बारे में, क्रिकेट के बारे में तो नहीं बात करूँगा, क्योंकि सबको मालूम है कि वो लेजेंड रहे हैं और दुनिया में उनका नाम था। पर हमारे यहाँ पर जितने भी क्रिकेटर हैं, ये सब उनकी देन है। आज जो जितने भी खिलाड़ी खेले इंडिया के लिए, कहीं ना कहीं उनकी एक बिशन पार्टी की छाप जरूर रही है, इम्पैक्ट जरूर आया है। और मैं इतना ही कहना चाहूँगा कि आदि की आत्मा को वाहिगुरु शांति दे, और उनका परिवार, जो बेदी परिवार को जो ये लॉस हुआ है, उनको भी सहने की शक्ति दे। और जितने भी शब्द इन्होंने बोले हैं यहाँ पर, मैं समझता हूँ कि आज यहाँ से हम काफी कुछ शिक्षा लेके जा रहे हैं। तो ये बड़ी बात होती है कि आप कोई बोले और आप सुने, और उसी शिक्षा को अगर आप घर लेकर जाते हैं तो यू फील पीस ऑफ माइंड इन लाइफ। सो इसी शब्दों से मैं अयोध्या में भाई उन्होंने यहाँ शब्द सुनाए हमें, उनका भी मैं धन्यवाद करता हूँ। और गुरुद्वारे प्रबंधन कमेटी जो भी है, उन्होंने जो यहाँ पे ऑर्गेनाइज किया, उसका भी मैं धन्यवाद करता हूँ। और जितनी भी संगत यहाँ पे आई है बिशन सिंह बेदी जी को श्रद्धांजलि देने के लिए, उनका भी मैं धन्यवाद करता हूँ। सत श्री अकाल, जय हिंद।
Good afternoon, first of all, to everyone. Sairam. The first thing I would like to start is by saying something which my dad told me as soon as he got the news. He called and he said that the Guru is always bigger than the father who gave birth to you. And son, you must have done lifetimes of punya that Bishan Singh Bedi was your Guru. And that's exactly what it is. As a Shishya, that sums it up for me. I'll give you a brief history. I met Paji at the age of 14. He used to come to National Stadium. He was helping Nalanda Singh, who was here. I don't think he's here. He's one of the greatest left-arm spinners after Bishan Singh Bedi to play for India. And Rahul Sangvi was also here. I think he's also left. And I was a 14-year-old, completely in awe of these people whom I'd only seen. And I said, can I join this net? And Paji said, of course, son. So that first word was son. And that is exactly how he addressed all of us. And sometimes I also used to feel, does Angad feel envious that he always called us son? But he was my father in a different way. So all he said was, of course you can. And I was not a spinner, I was a seamer who only darted or bowled quick. And the first thing he asked me was, who is a spinner? In that big bellowing voice of his. And I was looking at him as a 14-year-old, bemused, bewildered, not knowing what to answer. And he said, a spinner is somebody who spins the ball. And that summed it up for me from that day. Paji was a no-nonsense human being. He didn't suffer fools gladly. If whatever Neha said, we've all been used to it. He didn't suffer fools gladly. You could not hoodwink him. And he hated, absolutely with the capital H, hated mediocrity. So he was always pushing you hard. He was a tough taskmaster. And something which I was telling Anju auntie as we were driving here, there have been so many instances where Angad will always say this, because I was the only one amongst the few of us who would counter him. As a guru of left arm spin, surrendered completely, never asked him a question, ever. But every time else, on any other topic in life, I would have an argument and he would say, come, let's have a discussion. And I've never wanted to, and I don't think anyone else has. He was completely black or white, no shades of grey, and called a spade a bloody shovel. And possibly as his shishya, that is something which I've had. I think he has burnt many bridges. He's on his way and he's at the lotus feet of the Almighty. And I would like to be a fly on the wall just to figure out if the argument and the discussion between the Almighty and Bishan Paji, who wins it there. Sai Ram.
My sister forgot to mention the slogan when we used to go running and with my father, Panchil in the jungle. The slogan, when she spoke about excruciating pain, the slogan he used to make us recite, if the Sangat wants, they can recite with me. It's called Jiski Hogi Shadi. You all can recite. Repeat after me, Jiski Hogi Shadi, Uski Hogi Barbad. So, yes, and that was his way of expressing himself after an argument with my mother, who stands right here. And that's how we formed our bond. Karthikeya just said something about he didn't suffer fools except for one, and that is standing in front of you right here. I saw him, and I saw the very best of him, as we have all seen, through the eyes of all these legends who play cricket, under him, with him, alongside him, and after him. And I feel that he was meant for talent, and talent was meant for him, and they both एक दूसरे में समाते थे. I was the only one, I think I was a black sheep as far as sport was concerned. And I used to watch Karthikeya, I've seen Mother Uncle, I've seen the great master Sachin Tendulkar, who called and spoke very highly and emotionally about my dad the other day, and many other people. But I just wondered, what am I going to take back? Because I tried my hand at the game. I don't think I was very good at it, but I tried. And I saw, as Karthikeya said, he called everybody's son, and that's how he addressed him, and I love that, because the Mason Yomaida, I hope there were others, and it's not just always about the blood relation. I feel the other relations which are formed, especially because of sport, are much more thicker, and I always will believe that. One thing I would like to say to all the Sat Sangat here is that we believe that everybody's stomach should be full, and it's a humble request from my side that nobody should be here without having Guru Kalangar, and it is across this way. I shall let my mom now say a few words. Thank you.
This podium actually belongs to my husband, Bishan Bedi, not me. He is the one who loved, people love to listen. I will never think of Bishan in the past tense. He is always alive, and he shall be alive for all of us as family. When I got married, Bishan was a big star, and I was totally bewildered by what's going on. One of his very close cricket associates, Dr. Narottam Puri, saw me at a party, and he looked at Bishan and said, "Oh yaar, tera te jackpot khul gaya." And it was not meant to prove you wrong, it was mera jackpot khul gaya. There's so much Bishan gave me in a wealth of knowledge, so many values of determination and fighting for the right. I promise you, I will carry that on. Today I stand not as Bishan's widow, but I stand as his partner who will strive and live for all the values he inculcated in us. He always prayed and said one word, Baksh Deo. I will always say that, Baksh Deo. All of you, if you've done anything wrong, please, I'm so happy that you've given him so much of love in coming here, in writing about him, in saying good things. Very grateful. Please give us this opportunity and have langar, because this was Bishan's one thing. He would feel so happy when people came home. He never let anybody go. Or shada kha ke jao.
आज बिशन सिंह बेदी के परिवार ने, दोस्तों ने, रिश्तेदारों ने और उनके फैंस ने और क्रिकेटर्स ने, सब ने उनको उनकी अंतिम अरदास में शामिल होकर उन्हें भावभीनी विदाई दी। जब तक सूरज चांद रहेगा, बिशन तेरा नाम है। अलविदा बिशन। नमस्कार, सत श्री अकाल।